Good morning, students. In the previous lecture, we completed thermal velocity, drift velocity, and also the expression for drift velocity and current in terms of drift velocity. Today, we are going to discuss about the very important law in current electricity, which is Ohm's law. Okay, so today we are going to start with Ohm's law, and also we are going to discuss about what are the limitations of Ohm's law. So today I am going to start with Ohm's law. Hope you all of you remember the expression for drift velocity and current what we discussed in the previous class. Drift velocity is the velocity with which the electrons are drifted towards the positive terminal, and the expression for drift velocity is Vd is equal to E into E, that is small e be the magnitude of the charge and capital E be the electric field by M, and usually this will be in negative, okay, into relaxation time tau. And also we know the expression for current in terms of drift velocity, which is N E A V D, where N be the number of electrons per unit volume. Now let's see Ohm's law. Let us assume a conductor of length L and whose area of cross section A is connected to a battery or a cell. Okay, we can also consider this is the variable one. Okay, so the direction of the electric field is from positive to negative, and this is the direction of the current. Okay, now already you have learned Ohm's law in your 10th standard. According to Ohm's law, at constant temperature, the steady current flowing through the conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference between the two ends of the conductor. So at constant temperature, so the temperature should be maintained constant. Okay, so at constant temperature, the steady current flowing through the conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference between the two ends of the conductor. Okay, so we can remove this proportionality by introducing the constant, which is known as the resistance. Okay, here we are removing this proportionality by introducing the constant, which is resistance, where R be the resistance of the conductor. Okay, so V is equal to IR. So now can we write R as V by I? Yes, R is equal to V by I. And already we know what is V in terms of E, that is V is equal to EL. And similarly we can also write I in terms of drift velocity and relaxation time, that is N E A. For drift velocity we are going to substitute E into E divided by m into tau. So can we write it as n e square a e by m into tau. Okay. So we are going to substitute for v. I am going to substitute as el divided by n e square a e by m into tau. So this e and e which gets cancelled. So we will get m l divided by n e square n e square a tau. So that is r is equal to m by n e square tau L by A. Okay. So here you don't have this 2 at all. Okay. So what is this? M divided by NE square tau. This is the constant where M be the mass of the electron and N be the number of electrons per unit volume and E be the magnitude of the charge, that is magnitude charge of the electron, and tau be the relaxation time. So can we replace all these things by the new quantity, that is resistivity? Okay. This is the constant term. R is equal to rho into L by A. Okay. If rho be the constant, then R is directly proportional to L and R is inversely proportional to A. Okay. So what are the factors on which resistance depends? Resistance depends on length, and it depends on area of cross section, and also it depends on material, what type of material, and it depends on temperature. Okay. So can I write it as, that is the factors on which resistance depends. Okay. Resistance depends on length, area of cross section, nature of the material, and temperature. Okay. So these are the factors on which resistance depends. And similarly, what is resistivity? Resistivity, which is also called the specific resistance. So resistivity or specific resistance. Specific resistance. When we substitute L is equal to 1 meter and A is equal to 1 meter square, then R and rho are equal. That is, specific resistance is defined as resistance offered by the conductor having unit length and unit area of cross section. Okay. And what is the unit of this specific resistance? Actually, what is the unit of resistance? Resistance, the unit of resistance is ohm. Okay. The unit of resistance is ohm. And unit of resistivity is, it is represented by rho. Okay, unit of resistivity is ohm meter. Okay, and we have two more terms also. What is the uh, reciprocal of this resistance? The reciprocal of resistance is conductance. Okay, reciprocal of resistance is conductance, that is 1 by R. And similarly, the reciprocal of resistivity is conductivity. Reciprocal of resistivity is conductivity. Okay. Sigma is equal to 1 by rho. Okay. So, now let's see some important factors here. That is, what will happen when the temperature increases, whether the resistance will increase or decrease. I want to tell you here, when temperature increases, when temperature increases, the relaxation time tau decreases. Okay, so we can write that if relaxation time decreases means the resistance will increase. The resistance will increase. If the resistance increase, then the current will decrease. Okay, so what will happen in good conductors or in metals? As temperature increases, relaxation time decreases and resistance increases and current decreases. Okay, and also we know that as that is R depends on length and area of cross section. If length increases, then resistance will also increase. If area of cross section increases, then resistance will decrease. Okay, now let's see. So far we know that Ohm's law can be given by V is equal to IR. Okay, we can also do this experiment even in the lab also. We can see how V and I are directly proportional. But we also can write this Ohm's law in microscopic form. So, in microscopic form, how can we write this Ohm's law? Okay, so let us consider V is equal to IR once again. And in the previous slide, we discussed that what is this V in terms of E and L? That is V is equal to E into L. Okay, so now I am going to keep this I as it is. What is R? R is nothing but the resistance. Can we write it as R as rho into L by A? Okay, so cancel this L and L. So what will you get now? E is equal to I by A into rho. Okay, so here we are going to see what is this I by A. Actually, this I by A is nothing but I by A is equal to current density J. Okay, what is this? Current density. Okay, current density. Okay, so I by A is equal to J be the current density. So look at this formula. Here, I be the scalar quantity and J and A are vector quantities. Okay, I be the scalar quantity but J and A are vector quantity. So we can also write I is equal to, so if you have two vector quantities and if the final quantity, if it is the scalar means you will have the dot product. Okay, so you can also write it as I is equal to JA cos theta. Okay, where J be the current density, and current density, the unit is ampere per meter square. Okay, so I'm going to substitute for this I by A, I'm going to substitute J. Okay, so E is equal to J into rho. Okay, so and these two are actually a vector quantity. Okay, so J is equal to, I'm going to bring this rho this side, so I'm going to write it as 1 by rho into E. Okay, actually what is this 1 by rho? That is reciprocal of resistivity, which is conductivity. Okay, so Ohm's law can also be written as J is equal to sigma into E vector. Okay, so this is the microscopic form of Ohm's law. Microscopic form of Ohm's law. So both are Ohm's law only. So this is V is equal to IR, and again we have J is equal to sigma E, where J be the current density and sigma be the conductivity, and here what do you have here? Here this is your EB, the electric field. Okay, so next let us see about we completed about drift velocity. The very important term is mobility, because in the previous uh, topic itself, that is at the beginning of the session, I discussed about what are charge carriers, right? I discussed about charge carriers. Um, that is, the charge carriers, in the case of metals, the charge carriers are electrons, and also in electrolytes, the charge carriers are positive and negative ions, and in semiconductors, we have holes and electrons are charge carriers. Okay, so the term which is related to the charge carrier here is, we are going to define what is mobility. So, an important quantity, mobility is defined as magnitude of drift velocity. Okay, magnitude of drift velocity per unit electric field. Per unit electric field. Okay, and it is denoted by the letter mu. That is drift velocity, magnitude of the drift velocity per unit electric field, and its unit is meter squared per volt second. Okay, meter square per volt second. Okay, and it is of the order of 10 power 4 of the mobility in practical units, that is centimeter square per volt second, and this value is a positive value. Okay, now we can also write this mobility in another expression also, because we know that drift velocity expression is E into E by m into tau. Okay. What is this mobility? Mobility is equal to drift velocity per unit electric field. So the mobility can be written as E by m into tau divided by E. Okay, so this E and E get cancelled. So mobility in terms of relaxation time. E tau divided by m. Okay, so this is the expression for mobility. Okay, so now we are going to see a very important topic, which is whether this Ohm's law is always applicable or always this Ohm's law will hold good for all the materials, or is there any materials or there which do not obey Ohm's law. Okay, so we are going to discuss about limitations of Ohm's law. So here we are explaining about the limitations of Ohm's law. So this is the graph which is drawn between current and voltage. So look at this graph here, children. Along the x-axis, we have taken current, and along the y-axis, we have taken this voltage. So when we draw the graph between current and voltage, in this graph you can see that up to this point, so from the beginning, that is from the origin up to this point, this is the linear graph. Okay, so when we increase the current, the voltage also increases up to this. Okay, and actually this dotted line which indicates that linear Ohm's law. But after this point, you can see that the current and voltage, which is not linear. So, you can also say that V ceases, that is, V stops to be proportional to I. Okay. And this graph is for metals. Okay. Now, let us see when we draw the graph between current and voltage for semiconductors. So here we are going to see the other substances, that is other materials, semiconductors. Okay, first graph is for metals. Okay, so now here we have taken along the x-axis voltage, and similarly along the y-axis current. Okay, initially you can see so this is along the x-axis voltage and along the y-axis current. Okay, so you can see that initially we are increasing the voltage, but the current is not at all increasing. Okay, but once it reaches certain voltage, the current increases. Okay, so initially we are actually increasing the voltage, but we didn't find any increase in the current up to this point. But after certain voltage, the current increases. Okay, so this is not a linear graph. Okay, and also we can say that we are going to see this is the first part of the graph. Okay, so here is a graph in which we are going to explain the relation between V and I, which depends on sign of V. Sign of V, that is whether it is a positive voltage or it may also be the negative. Okay, so what is given here, children? You can say that if I is the current for a certain V, then reversing the direction of voltage, keeping its magnitude fixed. Okay, keeping its magnitude fixed, does not produce a current of the same magnitude as I in the opposite direction. Okay, so I told you that in this part of the graph, we are increasing the voltage. Initially, the current is not increasing, but after certain voltage, the current is increases like this. Okay, and we are going to send the same magnitude of the voltage but in the opposite direction. So here in this part we are going to send the same magnitude of the voltage but in the reverse direction or in the opposite direction. But look at the variation of the current here, which is not similar to that of this first part. Okay, so we can very well say that semiconducting materials which are used to manufacture this diode. Okay, so the semiconducting materials which do not obey Ohm's law. Okay, so this is the second limitations of Ohm's law. Okay, semiconducting materials are the materials which do not obey Ohm's law. Okay, so this graph is for diode. Okay, so this is a very important part. Okay, limitations of Ohm's law, which is very important. Now let us see the other case also. And here again, we have taken voltage along the x-axis and current along the y-axis. See here the relation between V and I relation between V and I is not unique. Okay, there is more than one value of V for the same current. Okay, so now let me explain from the beginning. So here we have taken voltage along the x-axis and current along the y-axis. Look at the initial part of the graph. So up to this point, V and I are proportional. Up to this point, you can see that the V and I are proportional and we are getting straight line graph. Okay. And from this voltage onwards, what is happening? And this V and I is not proportional. Okay. So look at this part of this graph. Up to this, V and I are proportional. But from this point to up to this point, it is a non-linear region. It is not the straight line graph. Okay. And again, what is happening here? We are increasing the voltage, but the current is decreasing. Okay. So here is the graph. We are increasing the voltage, but current is decreasing. Okay. So this region is the linear region up to this point. From here to here, it is a non-linear region, and this portion is a negative resistance region. You can also see here for the same value of current. For example, this point current may be, let us assume that it is some value. For example, it may be 3 ampere or something, whatever it is. Okay, the voltage is something. Okay, and again for the same 3 ampere you are getting even for the other voltage also. So what is given here? There is more than one value of V for the same current I. Okay, so this graph is for material like that is gallium arsenide. So a material exhibiting such behavior is gallium arsenide. Okay, so now we understood that many substances which may do not obey Ohm's law. Usually metals they obey Ohm's law, but semiconducting materials they do not obey Ohm's law. So we have ohmic conductors as well as non-ohmic conductors. Okay. Now we are going to the other topic is which is again very important. Resistivity of various materials. Actually, based on the resistivity, we are going to categorize the materials into three types. Okay, based on the resistivity values, we are going to categorize the materials into three types. The first one is so based on the resistivity, we are categorizing into three types. The first one is metals. Okay, so metals, they have low resistivities. What is the resistivity of the metals? It is of the order of the range of 10 power minus 8 ohm meter to 10 power minus 6 ohm meter. So, metals, they have resistivities of the order of 10 power minus 8 ohm meter to 10 power minus 6 ohm meter. Now, insulators. Insulators, they have very high resistivities of the order of 10 power 5 ohm meter to 10 power 16 ohm meter. Okay. And also we have one more category which is it is neither metal nor a insulator. Okay. That is neither a conductor nor a insulator. Okay. What are those materials are called as semiconductors. Okay. And the resistivity range between metals and insulators. Actually, you will be learning about this semiconducting materials in your second volume, 14th chapter. You will learn about the semiconductors in details. Okay. You can also give examples for semiconductors. Normally, we will use semiconducting materials or silicon and germanium. Okay, so based on the resistivity values, we are dividing the materials into three categories. One is the metals, and another one is the insulator, and the third one is the semiconductors. Okay. Yes. Now we are going to see commercially produced resistors. Actually, the resistors either they may be used in laboratories, or we will also use the resistors even for the domestic purpose. That is, resistors are even used in most of the electronic circuits. Okay, actually the commercially produced resistors are divided into two categories. Okay, so the first category is wire bound resistors. Okay, so all these wire bound resistors are normally used in the laboratories, and carbon resistors are mostly used for the domestic purpose. They are used in electronic circuits. Okay, so these wire bound resistors are normally made of an alloy. Okay, like manganese, constantan, and nichrome. Okay, so normally wire bound resistors are made by using an alloy. Okay, manganese, constantan, and nichrome are used for this purpose. And we have one more type of resistors also, which are carbon resistors. Okay, and these carbon resistors are compact and they are inexpensive, that is low cost. Okay, and they are smaller in size, and we can also find the values of these carbon resistors by using the color code. Okay, so today we completed Today we completed limitations of Ohm's law and how the materials are classified based on their resistivity, everything. Tomorrow, let us discuss how the resistivity varies with temperature. Okay, how resistivity varies with temperature. Hope you all of you understood whatever I taught you today. Okay, thank you, students.